Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. Teenage angst. The only time in life when I hate everyone is a perfectly valid philosophy, and I'm fine is code for I'm emotionally spiraling into oblivion, but please don't ask me about it. Today in the rLounge, what's a girl to do? Best friend and boyfriend betrayed me 14 years ago. Mom insists I forgive them. I expose Mom's truth, and she's divorced now. This incident dates back to 14 years ago when I was still in high school. We were a close-knit group of 3 folks. I, Becky, and Rob. 17 female, and 18 male back then. Rob had to repeat a year when his parents moved back to the States from Prague. So we 3 were in the same class. More than friends, we were a family. Our fathers were best friends. While my dad and Becky's dad settled here after their college, Rob's father moved to Prague for work, but they moved back when Rob was 7. Becky and I had known each other ever since we were in diapers. Rob became our friends when we were 6 and Rob was 7. So we had known each other since ever. Becky, Rob, and I pledged to be lifelong friends just like our parents. Rob and I started dating when I was 15. It was not just a teenage fling. We dated for 2 years and we were kind of serious. At least I was, and he pretended that he was too. We planned on enrolling in the same college and then getting married. People used to call Becky the third wheel. In actual, Becky and I were so close that Rob said he felt like third wheeling between us. Perhaps I was the extra wheel. I'll get into it eventually. When we were 17, Becky got knocked up. She was so terrified that she locked herself up in the school's washroom. I was horrified too to see those 2 pink lines. I asked her who the guy was. She didn't say anything. All she did was cry and dread about her parents' reaction to this. She tested it twice in front of me. In order to calm her down, I asked her to see a doctor first before telling her parents. I took her to the doctor. Her pregnancy was confirmed. She was so scared of her parents that she kept it hidden for almost a month. That 1 month was equally tough for me. I brought her supplements, ensured that she had a proper meal, got her snacks and juices, and lent her a shoulder to cry on. She confided in me about her fear, anxiety, and uncertainty. I was her only support, yet she was not willing to reveal the guy's name. Despite her keeping that a secret, I supported her through all means. I finally convinced her to speak to her parents before it became evident. She asked me to be with her when she told them. I agreed to be game. It was not unusual for our parents to see us bailing each other. Her parents thought it was one such matter. The moment she revealed that she was pregnant, her parents called up mine to share their distress. She didn't reveal the guy's name even in front of her parents. She cried so profusely that my parents asked her to calm down and give time to Becky to confide in them. 2 days later, my mom tells me not to visit Becky so often and that I should focus on my studies rather than being a babysitter to my friend. This restriction was not like, Becky is bad company for you, because she was very protective towards her. A week later, I got to know why she was asking me to stay away from Becky. Not to protect me, but to protect her. That evening, I randomly showed up at Becky's. There I found Rob with his parents. Both Becky and Rob were crying. Even my parents were present there. As soon as my mother saw me, she rushed to me and asked me to go home. I asked her what's the matter. She said none of my business. Seeing me, Rob and Becky both got astonished, and I instantly understood what's the matter. I screamed at them, "The baby's Rob's? You both were fooling around behind my back?" Then they both rushed to me and kept saying, "We can explain." I said no explanation. The truth is out and open. My boyfriend and my best friend are hooking up behind my back, and my best friend is having his baby. My parents dragged me out from there because I was screaming out so loud. I came home and locked up myself. I cried for days, curling up inside my bed. It was beyond heartbreaking. I trusted her blindly and supported her by all means in tough times while she was effing my boyfriend in her backyard. The worst part was everyone was so occupied with caring for the would-be mama that no one even thought about my pain. Surely Becky and Rob tried to reach out to me, but I slammed the door on their face. I blocked both of them on all social media platforms. It was understandable for Becky's and Rob's parents to not care about my heartbreak, but even my parents were least empathetic about it. My mom was like, "Get over it. Be happy. Your best friend is going to have a baby. You'll be a fun aunt of cute little munchkin." She acted so delusional. I mean, my best friend is carrying my boyfriend's baby, and she wants me to be happy about that. She said, "Oh, come on, don't spoil this for everyone. All of us are so happy to welcome the baby into our lives. Don't ruin that. It's not a big deal for Rob to sleep with your friend. It's very common in teenage years. Don't take it to your heart. I'm sure you'll soon find another loving boyfriend." She winked and said, more handsome and tall than Rob. My mental condition got worse. I couldn't place my finger on when this would have happened and how I could not see that coming. No one was there for me to confide in. My sister, 15 female back then, was dating Becky's brother, so she was definitely on her side. When I cried in front of her, she said, "How could you not guess that Rob was the dad? You three are always together. If any of you two are having a baby, it has to be Rob's." So she also preached me the same thing. Move on, don't spoil our relationship with them. School was the worst. Rob and Becky had dropped out. Rob couldn't take the bully, and Becky dropped out for obvious reasons. I had no friends besides these two losers, and everyone in the school knew that me and Rob were dating. Then Rob made Becky pregnant, and they both dropped out, leaving me at the mercy of the bullies. My family was more concerned about their friendship with Becky's and Rob's parents than about my feelings. Dad was still better. He used to check on me sometimes, but Mom was worst. She was supplying Becky with handmade cookies while I was crying and sulking in my room. She basically belittled and laughed at my feelings. As her pregnancy grew, my condition became worse. It was just so difficult to see Rob taking Becky for walks, for checkups, and for dates to ease her anxiety. My family asked me to look away from them and move on. I don't know how I could possibly move on. I mean, they both were my neighbors. It was not only difficult, but impossible to not run into one of them at least once a day. On top of that, my family was constantly engaged in the conversation about their baby. Apparently, they called themselves the would-be grandparents. Yeah, our families have been close. If she was having a baby with anyone else, I would have shared the same happiness as them, but not anymore. My mental state went for a toss. It got so bad that on the day of my final exams at high school, I packed my bag to run away from home. I've been planning on this ever since their baby-making news came out. I was saving up for it. I had sold all my books, comics, gadgets, watches, and whatever little jewelry I owned. I told them I was going on a trek with my friends. My family was so done with my sulking that they didn't ask anything and said, "Sure, have fun." I left home, never to come back again. I went to the next town, lived in a hostel, and waited tables for a living. It was stressful with immense uncertainty about the future, but I felt so much better than to be at home. After a month, my parents started contacting me, asking me when I would return home. I had changed my number. They emailed me. I blocked them from there too. They used other email IDs to write me, so I told my sister that I was not returning home ever and asked them not to contact me. They were emailing me from other IDs, so I changed that too. That was it. I don't know what they would do to find me. Living alone was not hunky-dory, but eventually I navigated. I waited tables for 2 years, then took up a receptionist for another year, and lastly landed up a sales job which lasted for 3 years. I met my husband when I was working in sales. He was a marketing guy. We both connected over our troubled family issues. He lost his mom at an early age, and Dad married a teenage girl of his age and forced him to call her mom. Other gaslighting and verbal abuse followed until he ran away from home. We had known each other for just a year when he said he wanted to fund my college education, which I can pay him back later. He wanted me to do better in life. I accepted his offer and went to college. I continued to work part-time during college to take care of my other expenses. I studied accounting and grabbed a decent-paying job right after my graduation. On my first day after work, he proposed to me, and we got married a year later. We have a son now. Life is good. A month ago, we went to Disneyland, and there we bumped into my sister, who was there with her family. She had married Becky's brother and have a son with him. I hugged her son, and the moment was so surreal. I hugged my sister, and we cried. She hated me for ghosting her. She and her husband, Becky's brother, both apologized for not supporting me enough. I said, let the bygones be bygones, and let's enjoy the trip. We all enjoyed it like a family. I exchanged contacts with her. She made me promise to stay in touch with her. Now she went home and told Mom about bumping into me. She texted me that Mom was asking for my number. I was still not sure if I wanted to get in touch with her. My husband advised me to make peace with my family and move on. So I gave the green signal to my sister about sharing my number. Just an hour later to that, I got a call from my mother. She was sobbing over the call. She relented her mistakes. She said she was sorry that I had to go through all of this. She said she was yearning to meet my grandchild. She's insisting me to visit home with my family. While I didn't say yes or no yet, I'm thinking what to do. Edit. I missed one important point. My sister was showing me the pictures of my brother's children, and while scrolling through the gallery, I stumbled upon her family picture. It had Becky and Rob. My sister told me Becky and Rob got married 4 years after I ran away from home. They had 2 more boys apart from the first baby girl. I just smiled and said nothing. She wanted to say more about them, but seeing me not interested, she backed off. First, it's the unexpected pregnancy bombshell, with Becky crying in the school bathroom and you playing the supportive friend like it's your full-time job. Then comes the gut punch revelation. Your bestie's bun in the oven belongs to none other than your boyfriend, Rob. Oh boy. That's quite the revelation. But here's where the real drama unfolds. Your family, seemingly more invested in Becky's baby shower than your broken heart. Your Your mom offering cookies to the mom-to-be while you're left drowning in the sea of betrayal and hurt feelings. And nothing says teenage angst like staging your own disappearance act. Update 1. Hey guys, sorry for not updating this earlier. Let me start from where I left off. After a lot of contemplation, I went to meet my family. My parents hugged me and cried. Yeah, they apologized for neglecting my feelings. It was a bittersweet moment for us. My sister was there with her husband and kids. Her husband, Becky's brother, also apologized to me and requested me to be in touch. It was so nice to meet them all. We all grew up together like a family. My brother, who was 10 when I left, is also married now and has a 2-month-old infant. It felt so good to hold and play with my nieces and nephews. We went there for a 2-day trip. The first day was so emotional and beautiful in its own way. My parents met my husband and my son, who was so delighted to meet his grandparents. On the second day, I was casually chit-chatting with my sister, and my mom comes in and says, "See, I told you would find a better man than Rob, and see, you did find such a good husband. You unnecessarily blew up the entire situation." My sister gave her a look and asked her to stop, but who could stop her? She continued, "Oh, that's okay. Charlie, me, is over her past now. Look how happy she is in her life." I said, "Surely I am." She sat beside me and said, "Then why not make peace with the past? Forgive everyone and move on." I said I did make peace with the past, and I have forgiven you all. She said she didn't mean them, but Rob and Becky. She wanted me to forgive them and get into talking terms with them so that we can all hang out as a family like before. I said, "Why do you want me to do that? You guys still hang out with them without me." She said it embarrasses them that I don't talk to their children, Becky and Rob, but their children are so nice to my parents. I said, "But your other 2 children, my brother and my sister, are nice to your friends. Be happy with that. Why bother me?" She insisted that I forgive Becky and Rob and become their friends again. I said, "No way, and it is none of your business." She started preaching to me the importance of forgiveness and Jesus stuff. Then she said, "Becky wants to meet you and your husband. Can I call her for dinner?" I said, "If you do that, I'm leaving the house now and never coming back." At this point, my siblings also got pissed off at Mom that why she told Becky about my visit. To her defense, Mom had said Becky's dad saw me through the window, and he might have told Becky, and then Becky called Mom and requested her to patch me up with them. I got so furious at her lame excuse that I stood up and went inside my room. My sister followed me inside the room and said, "Mom has a weird obsession with Becky's family. I mean, yeah, they are all friends now from 4 decades. But the way Mom cares to keep the friendship smooth, it looks so fishy now." I asked her what made her say so. She said last year she and her husband were going through a turbulence in their relationship. My sister casually mentioned to Mom that if her husband continues his gaslighting habit, she might divorce him. Mom lost her crap and said outrightly that there would be no divorce, whatever happens. Sister has to adjust even if he cheated on her because we cannot ruin their friendship. Sounds weird. Me and my sister looked back in the past and realized Mom had always been like this. She always loved Becky and her brother more than us. Back then, we never complained about this because Becky was my best friend and her brother was my sister's boyfriend. Discussion over, we came back home. I almost forgot about this talk with my sister. Last week, my husband showed me a video where a middle-aged couple is making out at a bar. The couple is no one but my mother with Becky's dad. Yes, it blew my mind. My mother's obsession with keeping a good relationship with them makes so much sense now. They can hang out anytime they want. My husband went next town, not my hometown, for a work trip, and there he saw them. He recognized that it was Mom, but didn't recognize that the man was Becky's dad. He recorded it to show me because there was no way I would have believed him without the video. After seeing the video, I was choking. I really needed to spit that out. So I called my sister and asked her to come down the next day. She sensed it was urgent and she rushed. I showed her the video and she was equally shocked. My sister has not told her husband yet because he would be equally freaked out. Now we are at a fix of what do we do now? Do we tell Dad about this, or should we confront Mom and ask her to mend her ways? But wouldn't that be cheating on Dad again? It's getting complicated. Definitely did not see that coming. Mom's playing footsie with Becky's dad at the local watering hole. I mean, talk about keeping it in the family, right? Who knew your mom had such a penchant for scandalous rendezvous? And here we were thinking her idea of excitement was knitting on a Friday night. To tell or not to tell Dad? That is the $1,000,000 question. Confronting Mom might feel like stirring the pot, but hey, if she's dishing out the drama, she better be ready to eat her own serving. Update 2. My parents are getting divorced. Yes, for obvious reasons. My sister and I spent weeks thinking what to do. I at least could discuss it with my husband and vent out, but my sister's condition was worse. She can't even discuss that with her husband. Her anxiety and silence were spoiling her relationship. We had to do something. So we did try what any other sibling in the world would do. We told our brother, thinking he might come up with a better idea to deal with the situation. On seeing the video, he absolutely lost it. He went straight to Mom and confronted her in front of Dad. She denied it, and he rubbed the video on her face. I don't know if it was wise or foolish of us to involve him, but at least he offloaded our burden. Brother told us that he was absolutely pissed with Mom all his life because she had been ignoring him in front of Becky and her brother. He said he hated me and my sister because of our closeness with that family, but when he grew up, our closeness made sense, but Mom's didn't. Dad and my brother almost barged into their house and showed the video to Becky's mom, who broke down on seeing her husband making out with her mother. To simplify the matter to you guys, Mom was basically sleeping with Dad's best friend. Yeah. By then, everyone got to know the truth, including Rob and his parents. Dad and Becky's mom became a team and grilled Mom and Becky's dad. We wanted to be neutral, but we couldn't after knowing that they had been fooling around ever since we were a child. Initially, they claimed it started recently as a midlife crisis, but their stories were inconsistent. Dad threatened to throw her out of the house right away. Then they spoke the truth of cheating for over 25 years. Yes, they've been doing this under everyone's nose and no one ever suspected them. Dad tried to hold the fort for the sake of the family, but he grew miserable. One day he just showed up at my door, hugged me, and cried like a baby. He said now he understood what pain I must have gone through when my boyfriend cheated on me with my best friend. Mom did the exact same thing with Dad, sleeping with his best friend. It's terrible. It's like getting stabbed from both ends. Dad called all three of us, me, my sister, and my brother, for a meeting. He said he was sorry, but he could not forgive Mom and live with her anymore, pretending nothing happened. Mom was telling him the same thing she told me. Forgive and move on. Dad was proceeding for a divorce, and before that, he wanted to inform us. All three of us lent our support to him, that we are with him whatever he decides. Apparently, when Mom got to know that Dad is going to serve her, she blacked out. She pleaded with him to give her one last chance for the sake of the family. I was not present at the time, but my sister was, and she gave Mom a piece of her mind. It was one huge drama in the family. Dad ultimately got her served and moved out. A similar story happened with Becky's parents. Her mom has filed for a divorce, and she has also moved out of the house. So in my house, Mom is alone, and in her house, her dad is alone. They might just move in together. Who knows? Blessing in disguise for them. Who knows? They both might have been waiting to live together. Anyways, I'm out of this. I have my own family to care for. These divorces have been rough on my sister because both sides of the family are affected. She and her husband are going through tough times. I hope the relationship doesn't suffer in between all this, and they sail through this rough patch. Thanks for all the love. I'll update the thread if anything develops. Talk about shaking up the family tree. Your mom and Becky's dad caught in the act of clandestine canoodling for over a quarter of a century. I mean, talk about dedication to the affair game. They were practically the Bonnie and Clyde of infidelity. Sneaking around behind everyone's backs like a pair of undercover agents. But hey, at least your dad and Becky's mom are taking charge and kicking those cheaters to the curb. Divorce might be messy, but it's better than living a lie, right? As for you, well, it sounds like you've got your own circus to run with your own family now. Time to leave the drama behind and focus on keeping your own ship afloat. After all, you've had enough of family fireworks to last a lifetime. Thoughts? How would you have handled the situation? Thank you for joining us today in the rLounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you soon.